Happy Saturday, everybody. It's Cindy the Scrapologist. Thank you for coming to my channel today. I am playing with corrugated cardboard. I'm cleaning up my craft room and I kind of wanted to use supplies that I've had hanging around for quite a while. I also wanted to use, well, I've cut it up a little bit, but there's this freebie available over on my Patreon. We were working with real film strips last month and I made a digital to go with it, and I wanted to work with some of the beautiful images in here. So I came up with a few things. I made a tag, I made a pocket, and I made another pocket, and these just look gorgeous if you like grungy vintage looking junk journals. So let's make one together. It's very simple, but I'm going to show you a couple of sort of mixed media techniques. I'm not a big mixed media person. I don't have a lot of mixed media supplies, but I do have lots of these little bottles of acrylic paint around, and I also have some of this Liquitex texture paste or modeling paste, and I have a bunch of the chipboard. So, and then I printed this off. I have some little pieces of fabric that I've saved and some twine. So that's what I'm going to use today. This is actually, have you ever bought anything that's glass? I'm sure you have through shipping. And this is the large piece. This is the corrugated stuff that they wrap around glass. I like this because it's the corrugated side is already showing. You don't have to peel off the outside layer. If you just have cardboard like this, wet it down just a tiny bit, and this upper layer, this top layer here, will peel off a lot easier so that you can get to the corrugation underneath. For this, I like my tags to be about 3 inches, and I'm just going to free tear this. Move some of this stuff out of my way. And this is just a silicone baking sheet that I got for $1 at the dollar store, and I use these whenever I'm using anything wet, like paint or anything. So 3 inches is right about here. I'm just going to free tear it, and it's not going to tear evenly, which is fine. We don't need measurements for this project. You can decide if you want to kind of distress this side too or not. And I'll maybe tear a little bit off just to make both sides distressed. Oh, and let me fold this. It's naturally folding. You might want to check, because if it was packaging, there's probably going to be a natural fold in there somewhere. So these are fine pieces. These are going to be exciting to use. I do want to just ink up the edges before I decorate it. Easier to do it in advance with my Tim Holtz vintage photo. I don't know that we'll make 2, but I don't know if I have enough supplies on my desk to make 2 right now. Okay. The next thing I like to do is take my acrylic paint and just kind of whitewash the pieces of chipboard. And I just put the paint directly on my brush, but you don't want a lot, because if you put a lot on your brush, it's going to go all into these grooves here instead of just staying on the top. So I just kind of brush it like that. Uh-oh, there goes an ambulance. Hope everybody's okay. And you can paint just part of it. You can paint the whole thing, whatever you want. On this one, I think I'll just paint kind of one corner. And if I wanted to do this so I could show you, if you use too much and you end up with one of these one of these globs in the middle, that's okay. You can kind of just take it out with your paintbrush, and you will have some in there. You see how it makes more of a blob? Another option is that you can, if you get too much, I like to just take a paper towel, and then it's not quite as white. Some of the brown starts to show through. It's almost more of a whitewash effect, if you will. And I'm just using titanium white right now. You can, of course, use any color you want. I forgot to bring in some water for my paintbrush. So the next thing I want to do is I want to just cut out, I cut out these darling little dancing girls, and I think I'm going to use them. Oh, and I also have another supply here. This is a roll, this is a snippet roll that I made. This is a roll of cotton with distressed edges. I forget where I got this, but if I figure it out, I'll put the link below. And I just, when I'm bored or I just want to watch a movie and do a really easy craft, I just put rub-ons, botanical rub-ons on this. Super fun. And then anytime I need a piece, I can just snip it off. So I always have, this one I'm not going to use because it's a cactus on it there, and it's kind of not going with my theme here, but I always have rub-ons around. I prefer them over stickers. I don't know why, I just like the look of them. And I'm just going to set that here with our little dancing girls, figure out where they need to go. I don't want to cover over the flower. And then another thing that I like to do, you see I have these sentiments on here, the world's all right. And then this is a beautiful young lady with flowers, and it's a poem about Helen. So I'm calling her Helen. But how I get these is that when I go to thrift shops or antique stores and I find an old book that I feel okay tearing it up, I look for poetry books, and then I just go through and I just cut out some of the titles, some of the ones that I think I could cut apart and put in my journal. So I always have something like this on hand. This has a lot of non-poetry, kind of making my way through this to using the poetry. I think it's in the back, yeah. Trying to figure out what I can use. So let me see if I can find a little poem that's cute with these dancers. And here's a cute one. Sometimes I like the title more than the poem. Each Day a Life. I think that one will fit better, both on the tag and with this little theme. I want to keep the poem, so I'm just going to try to tear just the title off. Sometimes chapter titles. You have an old book, look at the chapter titles. They make really fun sentiments too. Fun and free. We like free. There, I zoomed in a little bit. Okay, this is a little white, so I'm just going to stress it a little bit. And I lay everything out first before I glue it down. Sorry about the glare. My overhead light does that, and I can't help it. And you can have things sticking off the edge. Everything doesn't have to be confined to the inside of your tag. Okay, now one thing that I like to do, you'll see here this twine. Look at my fingers. This twine here and here. And how I did that, how I got that look, is I took just a piece of twine, and that's too thick. Let me get a thinner piece. This is just dollar store twine, and it tends to be very inconsistent. Sometimes it's as thin as this, and other times, see the difference? And other times it's super, super thick. But I just take my texture paste. And by the way, if you use texture paste or anything like that, put some kind of a seal like this on the top and it won't dry out as fast. But the reason why my fingers are all like this is because I just take a little bit of texture paste in between my two fingers and I run it through my twine. Maybe a tiny bit more at the bottom here. I ran out. There's probably a neater way to do this, but I like getting my fingers messy. It's like the old days when we used to do finger painting in school, in art school. Art class, I mean. Okay, so I just need to let that dry a little bit. And then I also have an entire bin, I can't even fit it in the camera, of textile scraps. So in there I had this, and I on this one here, that's what I used on this one, just some of these frayed edges of fabric. On this one I used cheesecloth, and I buy unbleached cheesecloth because then it's not stark white. I'll put a link below for that. So let me see if this is getting a little too busy. Each day a life. Is that getting too busy? And it feels like it does need something down there. I wonder if I should use a smaller flower. Let's see. Because the sentiment is kind of covering that up. How's that going to be? I like that. This one might be nicer on this longer one. Or, now that I'm looking at it, maybe this one should be a pocket. Am I driving you nuts with my thinking process here, or do you do this too? Make a pocket. Each day a life. Okay, I'm going to go with this. And then I can add the twine afterwards. It dries pretty quickly. So I'm going to glue all this down. You know what? I just had an idea. I'm moving that over. And I'm wondering, can I make a little bow out of this? Yep, I like that. Okay, good. I'm glad I I'm glad I changed that. It's a messy, messy, grungy bow. There we go. Okay. Putting some glue down on that. And there we go. Beautiful little addition for a journal. Let's make this other taller one. On this one, by the way, I took the twine and I put a hole in it and I put the twine in there, but when I went to tie it, it tore. So all I did was kind of glued it to the back, and I think that that looks really cool. It's a happy mistake. On this one, I just took that twine and left it in the circle that it wanted to go in, and just stuck it on there and kind of creased the edge up a little bit. So let's do this one. So I'm going to use this lovely lady here. Put her there. I think she goes well there. Whenever I see this lovely lady here, it always reminds me of my favorite person that I learned about when I was a kid, and that's Harriet Tubman. And I came across this little poem in my book there. Talks about cowbells jangling in the fields, and so I decided I am going to put a sentiment on here. And this one's a little longer. I could tear it, but I think I'm going to wrap it around for a kind of a different look. This is maybe a little more fabric than I need. I'm going to glue it down and then I will trim up. This is a little thick right there. I'll trim it up after it glues down a little bit. I printed this kit on actual photo paper because I did want it to be a little glossy. I wanted them to look like actual vintage photos. But if you don't want that gloss, of course you could print it on any kind of paper you want. That's a little bright white, so I'm toning that down. Paper's wanting to curl up. So let's see how this looks. If I just wrap it around, I think that'll be nice. Make sure the whole sentiment is on the tag. I'm sorry, I keep going. I'm having a hard time crafting today with my arms extended. I didn't set my camera up properly before I started videoing. My fault. Wrap that around. There, I like that look of it wrapped around. And get some of this off of there. Get this thick part off. Just want it to be a little more wispy. Move it around while the glue's still wet. There, isn't that beautiful? I'm very happy with it. So here we have, I lost my other one. Here it is. You can also decorate the back too if you're gonna not stick this to a page. But there's this one too that I just tore it at an angle and then put a really pretty piece of lace on it. I inked it up and put one of my sentiments from my poetry book and left it as a really cool pocket. So there we go. I hope you try making some of these. Let me know if you do. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next junk journal tutorial. Bye.